All right, we are on air. Happy Thursday, everybody. It's Backdrop Thursday, August 11th. We're going to do a meeting. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I was doing a backdrop training in Iowa. It was really exciting for lots of reasons we can talk about later. Or I'll write a blog post so you can read about it. But it's good to be back. This week Nate is at a Lullabot developer retreat, so he's out. I don't know where Jeff is or Mike or anyone else. Maybe it's just a busy week for people, but happy to be here. Happy to be back. All right, so general announcements as usual. Calabox is out. If you would like a local development environment with native backdrop support, Calabox is your toy. You can get it now at calabox.io. If you'd like to make a donation to Backdrop CMS, you can do that on our /contribute page. You can pay with PayPal if you like, and we will send you a thank you gift of a t-shirt for $25 or a sweatshirt for $50. They're very cute. They have our mascot, the dragon, on them. And we are running low on sizes, so I removed the ones we don't have from the website. Should prevent any future problems, but we will be ordering more. T-shirts are definitely on the way. Sweatshirts are possible. Those are expensive, and we want to make sure we can get a nice discount, so we have to order a lot of them. So we'll see how expensive it'll be to order a lot of them. But that is on the roadmap to get more of those out. People seem to love them, so we'll keep doing it. Free PHP Storm licenses are available to Backdrop Contrib developers. So if you are a member of the Backdrop Contrib group and want to give PHP Storm a try, send an email to info@backdropcms.org and we can get you a license key. If you're not yet a member of the Contrib group but consider yourself a Backdrop contributor, like if, for example, you are super active in core, shoot us an email anyway. We can try and figure out what's necessary to get you on there. Usually, if you offer to co-maintain a module, that is good enough, but it needs to be a legit offer to co-maintain. So, unfortunately, we just have to have a public list somewhere for PHP Storm folks to check to make sure that you are deserving of your license key. So, updates from the Project Management Committee. I don't have any important updates at this time. I don't know if you have any. No. Okay. Well, there's anyone else here, so if I don't, Gregory doesn't, we'll just move right along. Infrastructure tasks, project manager packager. I know this was broken last week. Nate really wanted to do a new release of Backdrop, but he couldn't do a new release until the packager was guaranteed to package it correctly. So it looks like that's been fixed. I don't know if anyone has tried it since then, and if it still has any issues.
I think it's fixed already. We had some new releases on Backdrop CMS after some releases were posted on GitHub, so that works now.
Okay.
I think we can remove that from the list.
Great. That is fantastic. Yeah, I wanted to do a new release yesterday just to test it. I had a module that I'd ported on the plane, but then when I got off the plane and checked the issue queue, I realized I had a lot. Like, I wanted to go through the Drupal issue queue and make sure I fixed all of the reported bugs and added the new features that sounded good. And then it was like midnight last night, and I got tired, so I was like, I guess I can't test the packager. I was really excited that it was working again, so I'm just gonna take your word for it. You've seen the new packages coming in. It's definitely working. I'll try and get to that today. We also have this recommendation to add an MD5 checksum for project packages. And I think this is to assure that when you request a project from your local Backdrop install, you're going to receive the actual project you requested and not some malicious code that was inserted by some bad robot that interfered along the way. I think that's a fantastic idea. I'm not sure if anyone else has a chance to review this issue yet, but I think it sounds great. There's even an example, I think, Core, you recommended an example of another project that does it. I think it's a no-brainer. We should definitely just go ahead and take care of it. So good job on pointing that out. Some updates on testing infrastructure. Gore, I don't know if you want to take this one over or not, but it looks like bad connection. Okay. It looks like I missed last week's meeting, but it looks like we have disabled Travis, which is great. It still runs on my local fork, which I find handy because then it'll email me when there are problems, but then it's not running on the main thing, which means tests finish much faster, which is really good. It looks like we're still working on fixing random test failures. I noticed that a lot fewer of those are happening now than before, so good job everybody for getting those done. And it looks like we're currently looking at using a Java-based testing framework, because right now we don't have any testing on JavaScript in core, and it would be great to get that in. So looks like there's an issue for Drupal that was possibly doing the same thing that we can look at for comparison. If anyone's interested in looking at JavaScript testing, there's an issue for that. Actually, I think there's an issue for that, but it's not linked from here, but we can figure out what it is. We have a meta issue for automatic updates. This is something that I don't think we're going to be able to get done in Backdrop 1, but it is a likely candidate for Backdrop 2. For the 1.x cycle, we are going to support not only a bundled zip release of each security release, but also just a patch fix that would be able to be applied to anybody's Backdrop installation without changing anything other than the security problems. And so that way, if anyone has horribly hacked core, but they want to still protect themselves from a security vulnerability that we know is out there and has a solution, we can provide them with a tool to do that. That tool, I think, is going to be much safer for automatic updates, that single patch fix, than the entire zip automatically replacing all of your core automatically. So I think there's definitely a way that we can consider that patch fix in an automatic update solution that's less terrifying, but still slightly terrifying. So for Backdrop 2, there's a meta issue. It's 2024, talking about how we can try and make it more affordable for site owners to stay on top of security updates long term. The next section here is a flagship website. So backdropcms.org. There's been a ton of activity going on over there, even though I haven't been paying attention to it for the last week. So good job, everybody. I noticed Gregory, you went ahead and created all of the content for the new homepage. We're going to turn the list of features into a view with content types, and you went ahead and populated all of the default ones and then gave me this great list of this is all of the stuff that we need to add. I was just going through that before this meeting, and I'm like, these are great ideas. So we should definitely set that up. It's like a tag to indicate what kind of feature it is, more fields for various things. So we'll do it. I'll add a comment there later. I think that's in this list.
I started doing a few things. I copy-pasted the content. So I created most of the nodes, 80% of them. Some need some creative text added to them, there's the blurb that we need to update or stuff like that, and screencasts added or at least screenshots. I know I promised that I might find some time during past weekend, but I didn't. But yeah, underway. If we get the nodes fixed, then all we need to do is just, the view is already in place, we just need to make it look pretty. That's it.
Fantastic. Well, great job on that. No problem that you didn't get it done last week because we're not ready anyway. But I will take a look at that today too. I was starting to it before the meeting, and then I realized it was time for the meeting, so for the last meeting. But yeah, we'll definitely get that knocked out so we can get that updated soon. I think screencasts would be great. They're definitely not necessary. I think we could launch, right now all we have is a list. We can launch with a list. It's equivalent to what we have now. When we get around to adding photos and videos, it's going to be even better. So good job for getting that mostly done.
One minor thing, see how we have the font icons for each major feature? I don't know how we're going to fit that with the nodes. I know in Drupal we haven't put a font icon yet, but you can pick fonts via drop-down menu for menu items, nodes, users, but we don't have anything like that. Maybe we'll have to resort in CSS.
I did something similar on this Backdrop site that I was working on last week, where we could just have a field that would accept a plain text class, and then when you render the field, you just put the class into a class equals thing on a span or an eye or whatever it is we want to have it on. It's definitely not as good a user experience as being able to select the icon you want and then have it show you the icon you want. But it is a good workaround until we get something like that ported. I haven't looked at the Font Awesome module for Drupal recently. I looked at it originally and didn't like it very much. But if it provided a field type that was like, choose your font awesome icon that you could attach to things, that might be the way we should go for this. I don't know.
It wasn't the font awesome. It was the icon API, which can support font awesome or any other provider for icons. So the icon API is the one that makes to menu items and stuff like that. Which I think we had an issue for admin menu as well, to sort of like add like even the home button on the admin bar, replace that with the API, but yeah, I can't remember the issue now.
Okay. I'll definitely take a look at the issue. I'll dig it up. I'm conflicted. Part of me is like, we don't need an API for that, but the other part of me is like, it sounds kind of flexible. But yeah, I think maybe we should, if there is like a font, if the Font Awesome module provides a field where there's no API and it's just like, here's your thing, that would probably be the way I would go. But if there is a field in Font API, then I don't know. We could also just add our own field type too. I don't know. Well, we'll see. I think like if the site needed more than one set of icon fonts, then you're doing it wrong. So that's why my conflict is like, why do you need an API for that? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'll look at it. Maybe it's beautiful. The code will like win me over, but you never know. So good job anyway on getting all of that stuff done. We do need to figure out how to do it. There are a couple of other things we're working on backedupcms.org. Single sign-on is still totally on my plate to get going. Showcase. Content types are up. I've been encouraging people to enter sites. I've seen a bunch of really beautiful backdrop sites in the last few weeks, and I'm so excited that people are making beautiful things with it. But I want them to get shown off. So if anyone has any free cycles to do development at backedupcms.org, I would love to see the showcase layout and theming get done. We do have design files for that if anyone is interested. So definitely weigh in on issue number 176 in the backedupcms.org queue. I'd love to get that done. Support section is coming along really well. We've got all this fantastic documentation on the site. I'm tempted to just kind of make it live at some point. I think it could probably use like a QA pass if anyone just wants to read over the documentation pages. I think they're all published, but they're just not linked from anywhere yet. So if we gave you like a link to the landing page, they're all in a book. You can read all the way through the whole thing. And I think that might be a good place to start. So if anyone wants to give them a read over, that would be a good thing to do before we just launch them. And then forums is the other part of our support section, which I need to take a look at. We've got a port of the forum module that's kind of 90% there, I think. I just want to take a look at that, see if we're ready to throw it on our site. It does involve rebuilding the forum with views, which is what I wanted. So good job for getting all of that ready. Other stuff we're working on, it looks like usage statistics. We need to get those showing. Jeff, do you have an update for, is that download status you pulled from GitHub API? Download counts?
Yeah, I was pulling download counts. I hit the API rate limits, so now you've provided me with the auth tokens, so now I have to get those in place, which you allow us to query, because this is significant query updates we can pull for all the 200 modules, but I haven't been back to that in a week or so.
No problem. But it sounds like you're not blocked anymore, which is a good first step. And then event listings, I think, look pretty good right now, but it would be great to get some filters on those for people who want to post backdrop events or find events near them. And then service provider listing, same thing. If you want to find a provider in your area, it would be good to be able to filter by that. I think that's it for backedupcms.org. There's a lot of stuff going on, which is good. Backdrop CMS itself, I'm not sure how much of this is up to date. We might have talked about this last week. But we do have a meta issue. I don't know, Jeff, do you want to take, oh, we lose Jeff. Got a split, okay. Okay, so Drupal 750 came out, and we have a meta issue number 2013 that involves moving over all of the improvements that were made to the latest version of Drupal 7 into Backdrop. I went through a bunch of those during the sprint and got some of the sprinters working on those as well. I tried to mark as many of them as possible as NA, things that applied to modules we've removed in similar. And then there were a couple of other ones that we had taken care of in Backdrop, and then they went and got committed to Drupal, and then now when you're looking again, they're different than the way that we fixed it in Backdrop. So those were a little tricksy, because it's like we need to change the way we did something to improve it, which is not as simple as applying a patch. But I do think that it will make Backdrop better if we can do it. So there's that issue if anyone wants to help. Looks like, yeah, 2013 is the meta. Yeah, so there's an interesting one. I'm not sure how much you talked about this last week, but the one to support UTF-8 character sets. So this is going to allow emojis to be stored in the database, which is something that WordPress supports, and people seem to love it. I would love to be able to support that in Backdrop as well. But I think we didn't like the implementation that Drupal adopted, where it only changed it for new sites but not existing sites. I'm not sure we have a solution for that. It looks like our issue is number 884, where we opened our issue, I think, before this got merged in Drupal, where we might have had a different approach initially, but it is definitely worth looking at. There's also a bunch of security improvements, things like clickjacking prevention that we probably just need to review and make sure we want to implement in the same way that Drupal did. All of them, I think, should have pull requests. The tricky ones should have pull requests that are separate from the main meta issue, but we can work through those and include as many as we can in 1.44. And then if there are any that are questionable, we can push them back and include them later as they get resolved. So if you're curious about what's going on in 1.44, that's the next release. There are a couple of issues, a couple of bugs that are tagged for 1.44. I think there's only one major one that's blocking it, and that's the fix of the grid system. We had a bug that the newest version of Safari was kind of broken. We've fixed that, but now there's another bug where an older version of Safari is kind of broken. It'll be great if we could get all of Safari fixed. Silly Safari. But I think we're pretty close. And hopefully as soon as we get that resolved, we'll issue a release, because right now it's really broken, and in the future it'll be less broken. And then we can figure out what these other bugs are and get them in as they're ready. A bunch of stuff has been committed lately, so thank you everybody for doing all of the testing and merging of all of the bug fixes that got in. Oh nice, this one's merged now too. Yeah. Okay. It looks like the 1.44 release, I'm not sure how much of this is new, how much of it you talked about last week, but the meta issue, or the milestone in GitHub, still has a ton of stuff that isn't done. I would say like most of that probably is going to end up being 1.45. Hopefully we can get 1.44 done this weekend. That's the plan anyway. I'm not sure what will happen. It'll depend on that Safari bug, but that would be great. Important bug fixes, Safari Flexbox, we talked about that. URL path settings. I fixed the URL path settings, so when you create a new content type, they'll save, and then Nate instantly pointed out that I need to write new tests for it. I wrote new tests for it this weekend, so hopefully if the tests are passing, that can go in, but it does need another review. The images being deleted from when you upload them into a block, looks like that patch needs some more work. Hopefully we can get that one resolved quickly as well. And then we'll issue another release. 1.5 is the release that's scheduled for September 15th. We're hoping to focus on editorial experience. Mike has been working really hard on getting reference module ready for core. Looks like he's made a bunch of progress on that recently. I went and looked at the issue, and there's a whole bunch of conversation around different ways to do things, and it looks like it's moving along. So good job, everybody, for providing feedback and strategy on how to get that done. I think we had originally decided to make one reference field that could reference any kind of entity, because it seemed like in the database that made a lot of sense. But when Mike started trying to implement it, he ran into a couple of roadblocks, like autocomplete, like the widgets just don't work quite right. They're supposed to do a lookup on a single table. When you're trying to reference multiple ones, it gets really complicated. And so we said that's a fantastic idea, but it's not a feature that currently exists in 777. If that's going to prevent us from getting references in 1.5, let's drop the feature. So it looks like he's now changed direction, and he's working on getting an equivalent version of everything that we have in 777 ready for Backdrop Core. And in the future, if we want to abstract that out to be one field that can reference any entity type, we can do that. But I don't think it should be a blocker for getting a reference type at all. So hopefully that is proceeding now that he has a direction to get around those blocks. New front-end theme, doesn't look like Wes is here, but I know that the front-end theme is pretty much ready, but we want to fix color module and theme settings. Nate had mentioned that he would be completely willing to commit the new front-end theme without color support, since it's not going to be our default theme when it goes in originally, and we need to just get the color support in by the time we change it to make it the default theme. So if we want to commit that incrementally, that makes a lot of sense as well. Same thing, homepage layout. I have a pull request that adds a new homepage layout that doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. It's exactly the same as it was before. But I'm also working on the request to add a new block type that would be like a hero slider, where you could either upload an image or you could use a slideshow or something, put something fancy in that, and then that'll go in the new layout, and the new layout will be different. But I had to do one before the other, so I decided to do the layout first. I'm also wondering, like, so in creating this block type, it's going to have like a managed file element on it so that people can upload their images. I'm wondering if eventually we will have a block content thing. I don't know if we want to follow the bean or a box or whatever, but this is going to end up being replaced, not replaced by that, but it will serve the same purpose. So just when we get down the road, we'll need to figure out like if there's anything that can be recycled and upgraded, or if it should remain one's config and one's content. So we'll see.
Can I ask something there? With that slideshow thing, have you decided on a specific third-party library that we're going to use, or is it a module from 777 that you're quoting?
I have no strong feelings on the matter. I mean, my personal preference would be that we would use something like FlexSlider, but I think what we're going to do initially is just put in one image and then have it not slide, and then we won't need to think about that problem yet. But I would love to see that actually be a functional slider. Like, I think it's going to have much better utility for people who use the site to already have a slider that's functioning. Nate would probably say we shouldn't rely on an external library, like something like FlexSlider. We should just write our own, and then he'll be like, it's just so simple, we should just write our own. But that's I don't know. I'm conflicted. I like simple, but I also couldn't write it myself. So I tend to like to use, especially if you're going to want to use other sliders elsewhere on your site. I'm currently, Backdrop site I'm working on right now has 3 sliders on the homepage. So I'm not sure I'd recommend that. But having the ability to reuse things, I think, is good. And so FlexSlider gives you the ability to have, like, this slider rotates this way, and that one does this way, and this one's automatic. And I really like that flexibility. I'm not sure that's an 80% use case, 3 sliders on the homepage, but it is worth thinking about.
Yeah, the reason why I was asking is some of these modules, the respective modules that are for D7, they're the equivalent versions of them that support views. So a user can build the images by picking node types or file, sort of like and then they can build that off of Vue. And what I used to do is I used to put on the website the draggable views module so that the users can rearrange in a pretty user interface. That's why I wanted to ask if you're sort of like thinking of basing that off of a view that can be sort of like manipulated, sorted the way that the users want, or just random pictures attached to a node.
So I think the initial slider is not going to be content, so it would just be configuration, and that means that a view isn't going to work because we're not going to be able to like query the config file or whatever. Although that's a crazy idea. Pretend I didn't say that. Anyway. I don't know. I think that there's definitely a use case like the way that we build Drupal sites today. Usually all sliders are made of content, and then you just have some content type that's called slide or something, and like the actual node it lives on is irrelevant, and you only use it for the purpose of being in a carousel. And then you can configure it however you want. You can use things like draggable views. You can have fields on it, like this is the text, and this is the page it links to, and this is the icon, or whatever you want. That I think is getting a little too complicated to the point where we can't assume how any person is going to want to build that. Like there's no 80% slider. So I think maybe we should shoot for a simpler thing. Like if the slider is just an image, we could have a config that's like show 3 images. But you couldn't put text on it. So then of course the number one question we're going to get is like, how do you put text on the image? And we're going to be like, well, we'll add text, and the next one will be like, well, how do I add it? Make it link to something, and we'll add link. And now it's like it should have been a content type with a title and a link field and an image. I don't know. It's an interesting conundrum because that is what I want for the block entity thing, like the box that has it's a node without a URL, right? That's what it should be, and we haven't quite figured out that yet.
Yeah. Do we have an issue for that?
We do. I
don't. 1152. That's the one.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take it there then. We'll discuss there.
Okay. But yeah, it is definitely like we're putting in this feature that's almost that. Like, should we maybe just be working on that instead? I don't know. But I think also like the use case for an image block config is also valid. Like I just want to put this ad in the sidebar, right? So I think if we create a block type that's just to upload an image, that's also a valid use case, even if it ends up not being the thing in the slider once we have block content as opposed to block config. So yeah, it's definitely however you want to build it, it's totally possible. We'll put it all in core, I guess. Confusing. Okay, other things for our future plans are on the roadmap page, backtropcms.org/roadmap. If you have issues that are specifically relating to user experience or developer experience, you can tag those issues in the GitHub queue with UX or DX in square brackets in the issue title, and those can be merged in at any time. Developer experience, obviously, would require no API break in order to go in 1.x, but we like making things easier on developers. User experience issues, depending on how important they are, can go in either bug fix releases if they're minor and important, or they can go in minor releases if they are major and less critical, or just if they're major, I guess even if they're critical, they get held up. But you can check on all of the issues that are currently scheduled for our 1.5 release by looking at the 1.5.0 milestone. All right, Gregory, do you want to take over the community growth section?
Yeah, I haven't updated the agenda. I'll copy and paste that a little bit later. I'll say that, but I'll read the other thing. So we have a total of 304 projects on GitHub for Contrib. That's 4 more since last week. We have 213 projects with official releases on backdropcms.org. That's plus 5 since last week. Then we have 331 releases on backdropcms.org, which makes them 13 more than last week. We have no change for the Contrib authors. These are 54. We have 14 new applications pending, And we also do not have any change for the organization profiles created on backdropcms.org. This is 24 of them. And then we have 329 total user accounts on backdropcms.org, which is 8 more since last year. That's it.
That's great. I am currently working on a blog post about DrupalCorn. Just so you guys know, the super exciting thing about it is that the training went really well. It sounded like all of the people who were in the training on Thursday hadn't seen Backdrop for about the last 2 years, and having seen it pretty much every day myself, I wasn't aware of how much it had changed in the last 2 years. And they were completely blown away by all of the progress that we've been continuing to make on Backdrop. So thank you, everybody, for continuing to push forward all of the issues. They noticed all of the user experience improvements. They noticed all of the new features. They were just like, wow, you said you guys were going to do this, but I didn't really realize that, things getting better was going to keep happening. So that was fantastic. It really felt good to have people actually recognize that we're doing stuff over here, and hopefully it's making things better. We did the training on Thursday, we did a sprint on Sunday, and on Sunday, John Van Dyke was there, and he was working on creating Backdrop as an installable platform via OpenShift. OpenShift is basically like a Pantheon-like infrastructure that you would host yourself. And so it gives you a dashboard with a whole bunch of things that you can install, and there's a button there for WordPress. And he's like, I want there to be a button here for Backdrop too. And so it takes a Docker file, which we already had thanks to the work Calabox have been doing with Backdrop, and adds an additional layer of infrastructure configuration specifically for OpenShift. So he spent all day working on making Backdrop run on OpenShift, and by the end of the day, he showed me Backdrop installer installing Backdrop. So that was huge that we just were able to get support for a new platform like that set up in less than a day. So he's going to keep working on that. He's hoping that the university there had invested a ton of money in the OpenShift infrastructure and want their websites on it. And so being able to have Backdrop run on it is a good way to assure that they will be able to do that if they get approval. So it sounds very likely. I don't want to make too much noise about the university using Backdrop until they're officially using Backdrop, but having it be available there also for trial, like anyone else who's running OpenShift will see the Backdrop button and be able to try it and run it on their own infrastructure too. So that sounds super exciting as well. There's like a master list of this is all the stuff you can run and the configuration it needs. So as soon as that's ready, we definitely should make an announcement about Backdrop and OpenShift. I'm going to put it as a paragraph in the blog post that I'm going to write now, but when it's ready, that should definitely be its own thing. Like Backdrop on OpenShift would be a great promotional tool for, OpenShift is also a huge enterprise platform, so that could also be an interesting, I don't know if Backdrop is going to be super successful in the enterprise, but at least they can try it. So yeah, it could be a lot. It could be a lot of sites for us, even though it may not be our intended target audience. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, good stuff going on. Our newsletter is blocked by Backdrop 1.4.4, which hopefully will come out this weekend. If Backdrop is released on the weekend, we'll send the newsletter early next week, Monday or Tuesday. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to announce, so hopefully it'll come out soon. I just have been holding up the newsletter because I don't want people to try Backdrop 1.4 on Safari and then instantly run into the layout bug. We're like, new core layouts, and they're like, these are totally broken, and then leave. So I think it would be great if we're like, new core layouts, and then they try them and they work. That would be really awesome. So especially because it's Flexbox 4 or the Flexbox CSS stuff is from Bootstrap 4, which is totally still in alpha. So we're definitely doing a little cutting edge here, which is not usually how we like to run in Backdrop. But we're fixing the problem, so it'll be great. We'll get that out soon. And then, yeah, we will eventually announce the new support section of the website. I think we should do that as soon as the documentation gets published. So I'll give it a read over, and then we'll get that up and talk about how people can use that. Hopefully we'll get the forum up shortly too, and then we can do another one about that. But newsletters, important. Not happening very regularly, but we'll get it done. All right, sprints. Today's Thursday. Thursday's Backdrop Day. We're going to hang out in the issue queue after this meeting and get a whole bunch of stuff done, which will be fantastic. If you want to join us, you can find us in the GitHub issue queue for Backdrop. You can join us in the Gitter Instant Messenger channel. You can join us in the IRC channel, #Backdrop. And right now, if you have any questions, you can join in the forum on Reddit, but hopefully that'll be moved to Backdrop CMS shortly. If you're interested in attending any upcoming events where you can talk to people about Backdrop, we do have an upcoming event listing on our website. Let's see what's on it. I think Drupal Camp LA is in 2 weeks, which is fantastic. I don't know if any of you are planning on being at Drupal Camp LA, but I did submit a session on Backdrop, which was accepted, so that'll be really exciting. It's a smaller camp. It's on University of Irvine campus, which is really beautiful. So I definitely recommend it if anyone's interested. You can get up close and personal with any of your favorite developers yeah, ask them hard questions about Beats module or whatever it is you want to know about. Looks like Drupal Camp Asheville is actually this weekend. So that's in North Carolina. I'm not sure if any of you are near North Carolina or attending that, but that'll be fun. I did meet someone at Drupal Camp Twin Cities who's going to be giving a talk on Backdrop at Drupal Camp Asheville, so that'll be really fun. And then after Drupal Camp Asheville, there's Drupal Camp LA. After Drupal Camp LA, we have Bay Area Drupal Camp, which is here in Berkeley. If any of you haven't attended the BAD Camp before and are interested in attending, we do have a scholarship program, so if you can find it on the website, which apparently is not an easy feat, you can make a plea as to why you deserve to come to BAD Camp, and we do usually give out a lot of money in scholarship applications that will go towards your hotel and airfare. Last year we accepted all scholars, just for reference. After that, we have Drupal South, which is in Australia. So, Gregory, I'm guessing you're going to that one? That sounds exciting.
It is exciting, but not time and not money, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
We'll see how it goes. Yes, I would love to, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Unless people want to sponsor
it. There you go. And then after that, we have DevConf Panama, where Nate and I are giving a talk on Backdrop, and this is a good example of a conference that is not a Drupal conference where we're just going to go talk to people in general about Backdrop. So we're going to give a slightly different spin on our talk that'll be less of a change from Drupal and more of a this is just what Backdrop is. And I think that we've done a fantastic job in the past 2 years of making our product different, and I think we have a lot of really good selling points that we can talk to. So I'm looking forward to doing that, talking to new people, and going to Panama. If you've never been to Panama before, it sounds exciting. So that's it for events this year. If you guys are going to be attending any other events and want to talk to people about Backdrop at them, feel free to add them onto our calendar. Usually event organizers don't mind extra publicity, regardless of who it comes from. So I would say if you're worried about it at all, you can definitely approach the event organizers. But most of all, we've gotten pretty good feedback about that. So that's that. Anything anybody wants to talk about today that's not on our agenda?
At DrupalCon, it looks like in addition to what you said on the sprint day, some other people were contributing to the some PRs. So I just give a shout out to them. Thanks for that.
Yeah, we had a couple of people in the training that are like, "How can I help?" And I'm like, every now and then I would do a demo in class and I'd say, "Oh, there's an issue for this. You want to help?" And the next day, somebody submitted a pull request against the thing. I was like, "There's an issue for this." I was like, "That's amazing." So yeah, it was fantastic. We had a bunch of super enthusiastic people, and she wasn't at the sprint. She just was at the training. So yes, thank you to everybody who worked both at the sprint and at the training, and late into the wee hours of the night at a Drupal camp writing pull requests for Backdrop. It was fantastic. So people are really excited about it, which was great to have not talked to them for 2 years and reinvigorated everybody's enthusiasm. So it's pretty cool.
Can I ask, the way these trainings are conducted, is it sort of like there's some sort of a presentation before that, or is it like a workshop thing?
It's more of a workshop. We do have a Google Doc. I think it's in the public Backdrop folder if you want to see it, that outlines the plan for the day. And what it is in the morning I usually do a shortened version of the talk that we do in conferences, like the session that we give. There's no demo. It's just the philosophy section about like this is what Backdrop's about, and it usually takes 20 minutes to half an hour when you do it in a training as opposed to 45 minutes to an hour when you do it in a session. And then after that, we do a follow-along site building, and there's a use case of we're going to build a portfolio website. Because usually everybody in the class builds websites, so that it's a really good like common denominator where it's like, do you want to show off the websites you build? Now we're going to build it. So we set up we walked through the existing page and post content type just to show them the differences between Backdrop and Drupal. And then we create a new content type, and we add all of the field types that you don't have in Drupal 4, like date and link. And then we create a layout specifically for the new project content type that includes like moving the content into the sidebar and placing field blocks, like crazy things you could never do in Drupal. And then we build a view for the homepage, and then we do a config management deploy. So we do it on Pantheon, we build everything on the dev site, and then we do a deploy from dev to test. And then we do, so you can see the two sites that are the same. We do that kind of halfway through the class. There's a place in the agenda for that. And then at the end, we deploy all the latest config. So we have all the content on the dev site, but no config, and then we deploy the config. So you get a little CMI hands-on experience as well. And then we usually break for lunch, and then after lunch we kind of dig into the code. We talk about like the differences between modules and themes. Sometimes we'll do a live module port. When we did this training in Twin Cities, we didn't have any developers in the class. It was all like decision makers, and so we're like, let's skip the module port and instead did some upgrade examples and use cases for sites in Backdrop. So based on who's there in the morning, we can kind of like futz the afternoon. Be like, okay, throwing out the code, just gonna get into more business cases for it. But yeah, if anyone is interested in giving the training or walking through the material yourself, it is all open sourcey, available free. So we have a Google folder for Backdrop on Google Drive. And then I think it's shared. If you guys need a link, let me know. And then inside the Drive folder, there's a document for Backdrop training agenda. Oh, there's a training folder. There's only one document in it. It's called Training Workshop. Okay, you want a link. So here is the document. Here is its link. And we usually hand this out to everybody in class as well so that they can refer to it after class if they want. And there's links to like the presentations that are given and all of that. Copy link. There's my Hangout. I'm going to put it here. It's not the best formatted document. There's a lot of stuff that's sometimes kind of added, like as you're doing it. Repository, it's just Backdrop core.
Oh, just to see an example of the content type you build and that stuff. Oh, that wouldn't be in the repo though. That would be.
Well, only if you
committed your
config, but around Pantheon we didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely. I could take them. Like I have my dev site from the class on Thursday. I could just export them and throw them into a, GitHub repository that's separate, and then you could just drop them in onto any Backdrop site and see where we ended up.
Yeah, it would just be interesting for people that maybe wanted to give those talks in different areas of countries that you guys aren't in.
Yep.
If we could walk through it on our own, then we could be confident about the talk that we could give.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely set that up.
It was the same reason why I was asking, because there's here in Melbourne there's a local meetup, but these guys are Drupal people, so I'm guessing that the only thing that you would do is just show them the difference, like how they would do things in Drupal and how they do it in Backdrop, and the way it's easier. So yeah, that's why I was asking. But I've been saying for like a couple of months that I will try to attend the meeting. Plus, I need the T-shirt for that. Show up with a Backdrop thing. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think I would love to see everybody giving this training. It's the kind of thing that you guys, as being super familiar with Backdrop, I just talked about my favorite things. Like, I'm like, this is the page content type. Look at, you know, responsive vertical tabs, because that makes me happy on that page, right? But it's just like, this is what makes you happy about working with Backdraft. Like, check out this admin menu search box. Just showing off, like, what is it you love about Backdraft? And I think, like, if you miss the responsive vertical tabs, it's not a big deal. Like, if you show off path auto settings instead, that's totally fine. Like, people are going to get, like, your passion, I think, is more important than hitting all of the details. And for me, it's just like, show off, this is a page, this is a post, it has a different name than article, this is a new content type, this is what I love about creating a new content type, look at the permissions, yay. And then, you know, as you talk through, you'll see when you're giving the training, you'll see the things that are different. Whereas I think every day sometimes you're just like, yay, Backdraft, but then when you actually say it out loud, like, you kind of see it a little differently. So I would just say run through it once yourself, and whatever it is that strikes you about that page, talk to that. That's why there aren't any, like, bullet points in the agenda that's like, you must mention responsive vertical tabs. Also, some of the stuff that's in the agenda that I wanted to show to people, like, that agenda predates all of the really cool stuff we have in Backdraft. So I'm like, oh, you know what I forgot to show you guys? There's some cool stuff in here, which makes it a little bit more exciting too. So, all right. Anything else we should talk about today? We are kind of out of time, so it's probably good if we're out of ideas. But I've got a blog post to write. So I guess I'll see you guys in the issue. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for coming, Alberto. Oh, guys, Alberto came to the community outreach meeting earlier today, and he's agreed to do some Backdraft promotional videos in Spanish for us, which is great. He's from Peru. And so I was like, if you could just do like a 5-minute video of like your favorite part of Backdraft in Spanish, that would do wonders for us. So he already does a lot of screencasting for work, and he's totally on board. So thank you so much again for volunteering to do that. I think it's going to be great. Yay. All right, well, have a great day, guys, and I will see you in GitHub later. Happy Thursday.